Hello everyone, welcome back to Learn with Sravs. I hope you are doing great. In today's section, we are going to learn one of the most important topic in quantitative aptitude, and that is ratio and proportion. This topic is extremely important because questions and ratio and proportions are asked in almost every competitive examination like SSC CGL, SSC CHSL, like RRB, etc. So many students think this topic is difficult because they are trying to memorize formulas without understanding basic concepts. So but don't worry, in this video I am going to explain every from the basics in a very simple and easy to understand way. By by the end of this video you will able to solve ratio and proportion questions confidently. So make sure you watch this video till the end because every concept is connected with the next one. Before we start, let me tell you what we are going to learn in this video. So today's session is divided into 5 parts. So first we understand what is ratio, and after that what is proportion. Then we will discuss some quick tips and tricks help us to solve the questions and faster during competitive exams. Next, we learn all the important formulas and related to the ratio and proportion. Finally, we solve the examples and previous easy air questions step by step using easy methods. So without wasting any more time. So let's begin with the first concept is what is ratio. Before learning the definition, let us understand it through a simple and real life example. Suppose there are 10 boys and 5 girls in the classroom. Now if someone asks, and what is the relation between the number of boys and girls? So instead of saying there are 10 boys and 5 girls, we simplify the compare them. This comparison is called a ratio. So ratio is simply tells us how many times one quantity is compared to another quantity. Definition: in certain situations, the comparison of two quantities by the method of division is very efficient. We can say that the comparison or simplified from form of two quantities of the same kind is referred to as ratio. This relation gives us how many times in one quantity is equal to the other quantity. In simple words, the ratio is the number which can be used to express one quantity as the fraction of other ones. So let's understand the formula of definition. Ratio is the comparison of two quantities of the same kind by division. Let me repeat, ratio is the comparison of two quantities of the same kind using division. The important words here are comparison and division. So whenever we compare two similar quantities by dividing one by the other, we get the ratio. Why same kind? One important condition is the two quantities must be of the same kind. For example, 10 rupees and 20 rupees. Yes, we can compare them. 5 kilograms and 15 kilograms. Yes, 4 meters and 100 meters, because they are different kinds and of quantities. Ratio is only because when both quantities represent the same type of the measurements. Suppose there are 20 apples and 10 oranges. So the ratio of the apples to orange is 20 is to 10. And now divided both numbers by 10. So 20 by 10 and 10 by 10. You get 2 is to 1. So this means, and the simplest ratio is 2 is to 1. This means for every 2 apples there is 1 orange. So important points. Now remember these important points. Ratio is represents using the symbol is column. This is the symbol. For example, and 3 is to 5 and 7 is to 9 and 15 is to 20. All these are ratios. Ratio has no unit. For example, 20 centimeters is to 10 centimeters. becomes 2:1. So the units cancel after division. Always write the ratio on in its simplest form. For example, 18:24. Divide both numbers by 6. You get 3:4. That is the simplest ratio. So now you may think, where do we use in ratio in daily life? Actually, ratio is everywhere, and we use the ratio while preparing recipes, mixing paints, sharing money, dividing profits, comparing salaries and school marks, maps, speed and calculations. So ratio is not just an exam topic, it is also a part of our daily life also. So now that we are clearly understand the what is ratio and how to compare two quantities, the next important question is what is proportion. How are proportion and ratio and proportion is connected? Then can two different ratios become equal? Let's understand that in the next part and we discuss. So what is proportion? Now that we have understood the what is ratio is, and let's move on the next important concept, which is proportion. Many students get confused between ratio and proportion, but don't worry, by the end of this explanation you will clearly understand the what is differences. And first of all, remember one simple sentence. Ratio compares two quantities where proportion compares two ratios. This is the easiest way to remember the concept. So this is the easiest way to remember this concept. And first, to discuss the definition. So what is proportion? Ratio and proportion are said to be in the faces of the same coin. When two ratios are equal in the value, then they are said to be in the proportion. In simple words, it compares two ratios, and proportions are denoted by the symbols. And when two ratios are equal in value, and they are said to be in proportion. Let me repeat that once again. When two ratios are equal, we say they are in proportion. In simple words, proportion is nothing but the comparison of two equal ratios. So if two ratios represent the same relationship, they are said to be in the proportion. So let's understand this is which with the simple example. First, consider the ratios are 2:4. So if we divide both numbers by 2, so we get 2 and 4/2, 1:2. We get 1:2. Now take another ratio, 3:6. So again divided both numbers and divided by 3. We get 1:2. So now look carefully, and first ratio is 2:4 is equal to 1:2. The second ratio is 3:6 is equal to 1:2. Since and both ratios are equally, so then 2:4 is equal to 3:6. This is called the proportion. So symbol of proportions. Now how do we represent a proportion? Generally we use in double column or equal sign. So for example, and 2:4 double column 3:6, or 2/4 is equal to 3/6, and both represent the same proportions. So remember that, and we use this. And ratio is represented by single column, and proportion is represented by double column, or equal sign is equal to. So standard form of proportion, the generally form of proportion is like A is to B and double column, and C is to D. And here A is called as a first term, and B is called the second term, and C called the third term, and D called the fourth term. Among these, the first and fourth terms and are known as a extremes, like A and D extremes, and the second and third terms are known as a means. These terminals is very important because many competitive exams ask the question based on these terms. So important property of proportion. So now let's learn the most important rules. If A is to B and double column C is to D, then A into D and is equal to B into D. This is called as a cross multiplication rule on or the fundamental property of the proposition. So take 2:4 and if let's verify it. So take a 2:4 and double column and 3:6. Now multiply the means. So 4 into 3 is equal to 12. Next another, then now multiply the extreme and 2 into 6 is equal to 12. So since both products are equal, the given ratios are proportions, and this trick is used in almost every aptitude exam to check whether two ratios are proportions. And difference between ratio and proportion, let's quickly understand the difference. And ratio and proportion compare two quantities, and proportion is compared to ratios. And ratio is used the symbol like a column, and proportion uses the and double column or equal. So see these differences. And ratio is compared the two quantities, and proportion is compared to two ratios, and use this symbol is column, and use this, and proportion use double column or equal to. For example, and ratio is 2:3, and proportion example is 2:3 double column 4:6. So remember this simple line. Ratio tells us how two quantities compare, while proportion tells us whether two ratios are equal. So now we have understood the ratio and proportion from the basics. In this next, I will share some quick tricks and shortcut methods, and that will help you solve the ratio and proportion questions and much faster in the competitive exams. So let's move on the tricks and shortcuts section. Let's discuss some important ratios and proportion tricks and frequently asked in competitive exams. These are formulas. So these formulas will save you a lot of time during the exam. So let's understand each trick and one by one. Okay. So let us discuss in first trick, and cross multiplication rule. U by V and X by Y. So then UV is equal to Vx. This is called a cross multiplication rule. For example, take one example. Suppose and 3 by 5 is equal to 6 by 10. And this rule is cross multiplication. So 3 into 10 is equal to 30, and 5 into 30 is 5 into 6 equal to 30. Since both are equal, the given ratios are equal. This is quickest method. Then check whether two ratios are proportional. So next rule is invertendo rule. So U by V is equal to X by Y. Then U by V and is equal to Y by X. This means we simplify the interchange the numerator or denominator on the both sides. So take one example, and take the numerator and denominator to take 2 by 5 is equal to 4 by 10. So both are invert both. So 5 by 2 equal to 10 by 4. So both are still equal. This is called as a invertendo rule. Rule is alternate rule. So if U by V is equal to X by Y, and then U by X equal to V by V. Here we compare the first numerator together and the denominator together. So take one example. Suppose we take in 2 by 3 and equal to 4 by 6. Then 2 by 4 equal to 3 by 6. Both are simplified by 1 by the solution is 1 by 2. This trick is known as a alternate rule. So next one is component rule. So if U by V equal to X by Y, then U plus V by V equal to X plus Y by Y. So take one example. 2 by 3 equal to 4 by 6, and now 2 plus 3 by 3 equal to 2 plus 3 5 and by 3. Next one is and 4 plus 6 by 6. 4 plus 6 equal to 10 and by 6 equal to and 5 times and 3 times and 5 by 3. Hence both are equal. This method is called as a component method. So the next one is a divided rule. So instead of then if u by v equal to x by y, then u by v equal to x minus y by y. Instead of adding, we subtract numerator and denominator. For example, and take 8 by 6 equal to 8 by 6 equal to 4 by 3. Now 8 by 6 by 6 equal to 2 by 6 equal to 1 by 3. Then and 4 by 3 and divided to 2. Then 4 minus 3 by 3. 4 by 4 minus 3 1 and by 3. Then both are equal. So next trick is a component and a divided rule. So this is the one of the most important rule and in competitive exams. So if we take the u by v equal to x by y, then u plus v by u minus v equal to x plus y by x minus y. This rule is combines both addition and subtraction also. Take one example. Suppose and 3 by 2 equal to 6 by 4. Then to calculate 3 plus 2 by 3 minus 2. To add to both rules are to combine both rules, addition and subtraction. So 3 by 2 by 3 minus 2. To calculate this, and 3 plus 2 equal to 5 and by 3 minus 2 equal to 1 equal to 5. So next one is 6 by 4. To calculate this also, 6 plus 4 by 6 minus 4 equal to 10 by 2 equal to 5. So both are equal. So remember this formula because SSC asks the question based on it regularly. So next one duplicate rule, ratio rule. So if u by v equal to u by x and then u by v equal to u square by y square. This shortcut is mainly used to advanced ratios and questions. Although not asked infrequently, it is useful for higher level aptitude problems only. So next trick is a equality rule. So if u by v and equal to x by y and u equal to x, this automatically v equal to y. It is similarly and it is a denominator are equals and the numerator must be also equal. Suppose take one example, x by 8 equal to 5 by 8. Since denominators are equal, x must also be equal to 5. Therefore, x is equal to 5. This trick helps to solve the question within seconds. So remember, easy way to remember these rules and often get confused, but between these names also here easy memory trick. So remember these all rules. First one is the cross multiplication rule, is easy to remember. Then second one is the introtend rule. It is remember for introvert that flip numerator and denominator. And then third one is the alternate rule and fourth one is component rule and add numerator and denominator. I remember this one. Fifth one is divided rule. To remember this, subtract denominator from numerator. Then sixth one is component and divided, add and subtraction, addition and subtraction together to solve the problem. Seventh one is duplicate ratio rule and eighth one is equivalent rule. Now that we have learned all the important quick tips and tricks also, and solving ratio and proportion questions now become much easier and faster. In the next we will discuss the important formulas and ratio and proportion, followed by the practice for examples and previous year SSC questions also. So make sure you continue to watching this. So everyone, we have now completed all important formulas and ratios and proportion. Simply is memorize these formulas is not enough. So the real challenges is knowing where the how to solve and how to apply the each formula in the exam. So many students remember all formulas and but we confuse it and when solving the questions and because they don't know which formula to use. So that's why from these points onwards we are going to solve different types and questions. To every question I will first explain which formula is identified, then that particular formula is used. So and finally how to solve the question step by step. So this approach will help you solve the competitive examinations too easy to solve. So keep your notes and pen ready and pause the video and before each question try solve it and yourself, then compare the your answer with mine. So this way you will improve both speed and accuracy. All right, let's start with the first practice question. So these all formulas to apply and solving the questions. So, alright everyone, let's solve our first example using the concept and the formulas that we must just learn. Before looking at the options and let's first understand the question carefully. And the question says the salaries of A, comma B and C are in the ratio 5 is to 3 is to 2. If the increment of 20% and 10% and 20% are allowed in their salaries, then what will be the new ratio of the salaries? Option A 2 is to 1 is to 9 and B option and C and D. Give 4 options. So let understand the question carefully. So whenever a question gives only the ratio, we can assume the convenient value. Here the ratio is 5 is to 3 is to 2. To make percentage calculations easier, let's simplify and let calculate the multiplication terms in 100. So we assume the salaries and A, B, C. So A is 5, A is a 500 and B is 300 and C is 200. We assume that salaries. So why did I multiply by 100? Because percentage becomes very easy to calculate and we avoid the working of decimals. So next step is now let's calculate the increment of each person. Salary A is 500. So the increment is 20% and the 20% of 500 is 5 into 20 by 100 equal to 100. New salary of A is 50 plus 100 equal to 600. Next, B salary is and 300. So the increment is 10%. So increment is 10% and 300 into and 10 by 100 equal to 30. So the new salary becomes the 300 plus 30, 330. Next, C. The salary of C's salary is 200. The increment is 20%. The 20% of 200 is 200 into 20 by 100 equal to 40. The new salary becomes A and 20 plus 40 equal to 240. So C, calculate the C, salary C and the increment is 20%. So to calculate the 20 into 20 by 100 equal to 40 and 200 by 40 equal to 240. So the new step is 30. The step 3 is the write the new ratio. Now the new salaries are 600 is to 330 is to 240. So this ratio is not in the simplest form. Let's divide all the three numbers by 30. By 600 divided by 30, 20 and 330 divided by 30 is 11 and 240 divided by 30 is 8. The option C is a correct option. The new ratio is 20 is to 11 is to 8. here a quick trick for the question like this: whenever different percentages are applied in the quantities in the ratio, first assume convenient value based on the ratio and preferably and multiply of 100. Apply the percentages and increase and decrease and the write new values. Finally simplify the ratio and dividing a highest common factor. So this method is simple and fast and highly useful for the exam. So now that you understood this question, let's move on the next example and learn another shortcut methods. Okay everyone, all right, and let's solve the one another question. The question says two numbers are respectively 40% and 60% more than the third number. The ratio of the two numbers is. Then before solving, let's identify the keyword. The question says 40% more and 60% and more than in third number. Whenever you see the phrase like more than, and assume the original number as x. So let the third number be x. So the first number is 40%. More than x. That means x plus 40% of x. So 140 by 100 into x and like 7 by 5 and 7x by 5. Similarly, the second number is 60%. So 60% more than x. So x plus 60% of x. Then 60 by 100 of x. 8x by 5. Now write the ratio. 7 by 5 is to 8 by 5. So the common factor is x by 5 gets cancelled. So the ratio becomes 7 is to 8. Therefore the correct option is B. So then 7 is to 8. This question is very easy if you understand the meaning of more than and less than percentage. So everyone, that's for today's class. Today we covered the complete basics of ratio and proportion. We learned and what is ratio, what is proportion, and quick tips and tricks and important formulas, and solve the few practice examples step by step. And I hope this session helped you understand the topic clearly. In this next class we will solve more previous year questions and along with the shortcuts methods and improve your speed and accuracy. So make sure you practice today concepts before watching this next video. If you found this video helpful, please like video, share it with your friends and who are preparing for the competitive exams, and to subscribe to Learn with Sravs for more easy to understand the aptitude classes. And also let me know in comments which topic you did like me and to cover next. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next class. Until then, keep learning, keep practicing, and all the very best for your exams.